This is John Harbour of Exclusive Scottish Visits, and I'm with Simon Yearsley, and Simon runs the Scottish Deli with his wife Sarah. And this is in the town of Dunkeld, just north of Perth. We also, of course, have a very important person, and that is Jane, who is the shop manager. And can I just say thank you very much indeed for inviting us here and for sharing with us the good of your wonderful shop. So I'm here just to talk to Simon today and ask him, first of all, how on earth did you get into running a deli?
That's a mean question to start with, John. How do we get into running the deli? My wife and I have always been foodies. We've always been around food. We've always loved food. Travelled around all over Europe, all over the world, and enjoy food. And we live in the next village down the road, and we've always known this shop, which has been traditionally a delicatessen and a grocer's shop for many years, since 1809, I think. And there was one day we were kind of walking past it, and in fact we popped in, and the place was looking a bit of a mess, and it wasn't particularly well loved at the time. And we had one of those you must have had it, one of those daft conversations you have with your partner about, well, what would happen here for what? And we talked about the idea maybe if the place ever came up for sale, we might think about buying it. And then 2 days later, through a friend of a friend, we found out the guy who owned it was looking to sell it. So the rest is history. We kind of looked at each other and went, oh no, that means we've got to buy it. And we set off on an adventure running a delicatessen, so a speciality food shop, and a cafe, and we've turned it into what it is today, which is a restaurant in the evening, speciality food shop, award-winning speciality food shop, wonderful licensed cafe during the day, and an outside catering business as well.
So what was here before?
There's always been a shop here. This building was built in 1809, so there's always been a tradition of having a grocer's shop in the community of Dunkeld and Burnham. And my wife and I, Sarah, we were fortunate enough to take the kind of I say ownership, but also the kind of custodianship, if that's the right word, of the building 5 years ago now.
I see obviously it's set up for dinner this evening. Just tell us, it's rather strange to come into a deli, a Scottish deli, and you clearly run as a deli during the day. How do you sort of operate a restaurant?
So with difficulties, how we kind of manage the two. Basically, the focus during the day is that we're a shop. So we're selling specialty food stuff, so we can talk more about that later, and talk about it till the cows come home, really, about what we stock and what we sell. But we're a shop during the day with a few cafe sit-in tables, and then in the evening all the stock gets kind of put away and moved around, and we put our tables out and we put candles on the tables, and we're away into a restaurant.
And clearly the produce that you sell during the day, I take it, do you specialise, is that on the menu in the evening?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we've got, it's the theme of the evening menu is a kind of Scottishy, Spanishy tapas. So it's all little dishes with a bit of a Scottish twist to some of them. So on a typical Spanish menu, tapas menu, you'd have meatballs in a tomatoey sauce, but here we've got haggis balls in a kind of tomatoey sauce, and we sell the haggis during the day and that kind of thing. And we do big cheese boards and meat boards with our wonderful Scottish cheeses that of course we sell in our deli counter. So we've tried to make the connection between what we sell during the day and what we then theme our restaurant around in the evening.
Right. And talking about the produce, where do you source it? I mean, is it local or international?
So it's a mix. I mean, the name of our business is the Scottish Deli. So there's a kind of a bit of a clue in the name that what we want to do is to focus on Scottish produce, really kind of showcasing the best of Scottish produce, but without it being everything with tartan and everything to do with shortbread. It wants to be, I want food that people think about, they can appreciate. And we also, within that, we will really focus on the local produce, because we're blessed in Highland Perthshire with having a really great range of exciting food stuff. So we've got some great cheeses, we've got some wonderful dressings and oils and things like that, rapeseed oil produce. We've got fantastic coffee that's not grown here, but that's roasted here. We've got, I think, some of the world's best smoked salmon, which is smoked about 20 metres behind us over there. So the food miles is terrible. It's travelled a hell of a distance.
What's your speciality, do you think, in the restaurant in the evening?
What's our speciality? Can I have two?
Yeah.
Okay, because one is some of the real simple, basic Spanish style cooking, like a really simple, basic tortilla. So that's just eggs and potato and spices, all beautifully cooked, all fluffily cooked, and things like patatas bravas, simple cubes of potato fried off, basic tomato sauce on them. So at the heart of some kind of classic Spanish tapas. But then I'm a lover of cheese, so it's got to be our cheese boards. We do beautiful big cheese boards, and we focus on some lovely Scottish cheeses. We'll put the occasional bit of Brie de Meaux or other European stuff on there, but we've got the Kintyre apple smoked cheddar, which I think is one of the most beautiful, soft, creamy smoked cheeses. We have some lovely Scottish goat's cheeses. So yeah, cheese is at the heart of what we do.
Anything very local for cheese?
Very local. Probably our most local cheese is near St Andrews, a place called Einster, or Anster, or Einster, depends how you pronounce it. That's a lovely cheese. It's a drier, slightly crumbly, a bit like a Wensleydale, if you're familiar with the Yorkshire Wensleydale. Little lemony twist background to it. Which is absolutely delicious.
I mean, I'm getting a feeling that you are supporting local businesses.
Absolutely.
And we're in the beautiful town of Dunkeld. What sort of connection do you have with all the other businesses in this town?
Dunkeld and Burnham, and I like to use the terminology Dunkeld and Burnham. We're two villages separated by the beautiful River Tay, but we sit either side of the Tay. And there is a really strong business community in here. We're a small number of businesses. Our high street supports about 25 local independent businesses, but they're all independent businesses. We only have one small village shop, the Co-op, which is a Co-op branded shop. But the rest of the community is independent, and we have independent retailers, we have independent food producers. And we try and work collaboratively. We don't always do it because it takes time, it takes effort to do that. But there's a strong community and a collaborative approach often within our business community.
I see there's a number of staff next door. All local girls?
Absolutely, girls and boys. We employ, up into 30 people.
Wow.
And that's because we're open every day, and we're open from 9 in the morning through till 11 o'clock at night, but it's the daytime and the evening. That's changed a little bit as we've gone through the coronavirus pandemic. We'll talk about that about that if we need to. But we one of the things that my wife and I thought about when we started doing the business is that it would be really good if we were able to have an acid test of running a business well in a small community, is if we've got a whole bunch of local young people wanting to come and join us, want to come and work for us. And I'm absolutely delighted that we have that. And it's easy for anybody to say, the team are brilliant, but John, they are. They're really good. They're passionate, they're enthusiastic, they're confident to talking with customers, they're knowledgeable. And we've got, as I say, 30 odd people, so we're putting 30 odd people's wages into the local economy as well. And they're good fun to work with. And like tonight, there's 4 people in the restaurant running the front of house and the back, and I'm perfectly happy to wander off home. And I've had my long day working here all day, so I'll have a wee glass of wine, probably half of that, and then potter home.
Well, I have to say, I've been coming to Dunkeld myself for the last 8 years. But certainly the last few years, I've often popped into the deli, and I've always had a wonderful reception. So please pass on.
That's good. I will. Absolutely. That's nice.
I'm afraid we have to touch upon COVID, because as we came in, you've got a one-way system, and during the day, wearing of masks. How has that affected the way you operate, and the business itself?
We've got about 4 days to talk about it. Where can I start? In terms of running our business, I like to make business decisions having a little bit of knowledge about the sector, a little bit of knowledge about our business and how we operate, and maybe the occasional spreadsheet and a bit of data and a bit of information and a business model to work on. Now, we had all that. It was all running really well. And then, of course, COVID-19 comes along and just completely turns the thing on its head. And I'm not alone. That's every independent retailer will have found that. So what we did, literally within 24 hours of lockdown, we could see it coming, but lockdown was there. Within hours of lockdown, we had to really think hard about how we're going to run our business. We stayed open. We took the decision to stay open as a shop, because as I say, we're a food retailer, supporting the local community. We're only open 3 days a week, but basically it was us, the butchers, and the co-op remained open. We lost more money being open for those first couple of months than we would have done if we'd just closed and mothballed the business. Right. But it was important for us to play our role in supporting the community, being part of that food solution in the community. Where are we now? We're coming out of lockdown. I am absolutely delighted with the support that we got locally from our local community. They really did support us. They knew we were having a tough time. They supported us, they supported the butcher, they supported the co-op, they supported all the shops that were in, and I'm just talking shops here, but all those businesses that were trying to stay open. And the community responded brilliantly.
But when I'm touring in Scotland, I'm always asked about Scottish wine, and I always say no such thing and forget it. However, I have just spied in the corner there what looks like some Scottish wine. Could you tell us about that?
I can, absolutely. That is behind us here. We'll maybe get some shots of it later. We've got a wonderful wine collection of about 85 bottles of wine from all over the main wine producing countries in the world. I've also got a beautiful little selection of fruit wines in Highland Perthshire. Right. We have an amazing tradition, history, and culture of growing wonderful fruits. So raspberries, strawberries, they're the main ones. And out towards Dundee, around the Errol area, is a winery called Cairnmore, and they produce wonderful fruit wines. And
so it's fruit wine.
It's a fruit wine, so it's always going to be a little bit sweeter.
Okay.
So there's a raspberry wine, there's a bramble wine, there's a strawberry wine. Yeah. When I first knew them, when I first came to this area 20 odd years ago, they were a bit rough. They've really developed. They've softened. They've become a lot more sophisticated in their winemaking techniques, and they're now really, really good wines. They don't. If you drink it thinking, how's this going to compare to a beautiful Chablis or a big heavy Bordeaux? It's not the same thing. You're not. But they're great wines.
I can already hear Frenchmen all over France breathing this sigh of relief to know that Scotland is not producing its own wine. But
we don't quite have the climate yet. Let's see what happens with global warming.
That's why we have such good whiskey, of course.
Absolutely.
Simon, where do you think you see yourself in maybe 5 years or 10 years? Or have you got the long-term plan?
For the business, there's been a shop here, as I said, since 1809. So one of the things I think that we have a responsibility to, my wife and I, Sarah, and our shop manager, Jane, is and the team, we've got a responsibility to kind of, I think, continue this tradition and history about having a village shop here. How we do that, I don't know, but that's one of the things in my mind. Wherever we go with the business, I want to make sure that if we move out of the business or if we, do different things to the business, at its heart is a community food grocer shop. Because it would be a shame if I were the person who stopped that. That won't happen. So there's going to be a shop here. It'll be in probably different iterations of it. Will we be here? Yeah, I'd love to think so. Will Jane be here? Yeah, absolutely. And I hope some of the team we've got out front will be working with us as well.
Yes. This is maybe an unfair question, Simon, but I'm going to ask you to choose 3 things in the shop that you really love and you'd like to talk about.
3?
Tell us about. Just 3, I'm afraid.
That is impossible. Okay, I'll give it a go. It's got to be cheese.
Okay.
Got to be something a bit different. And it's probably got to include booze as well of some sort.
Okay.
So let's start with the cheese. For me, balance of flavour is really, really important. And this beautiful bad boy here, I'm going to stroke it. It's such a lovely cheese. It's from the Campbelltown Creamery, so bottom end of Kintyre. And this is their apple smoke mature cheddar. And what's lovely about this is when I say balance of flavors, it's a smoky flavor, but it's a soft, gentle smoky flavor. And as well as getting the smoky flavor, you get the lovely, creamy, fairly strong flavor of the cheddar coming through. And we sell dozens and dozens of kilos of this a week. We use it on our cheese boards. People know it and love it. They also know there is a thing called an applewood smoke cheddar, which is not this. And people sometimes say, I can buy applewood smoked cheddar for a quarter the price. No, it's a different product. This is a unique product, beautifully made. And I grew up in Cumbria, in the west coast of Cumbria, in the English Lake District, just across the border from Scotland. And we used to visit some great friends of ours who lived in Lockerbie, which sadly is kind of known for different reasons nowadays. But I remember in the kind of late 60s, early 70s, visiting them, and the cheese that we had was either yellow or red. And those are the choices that you had. And it was all from the Lockerbie Creamery. But what was interesting was that when you actually research back, at that stage there were loads of different cheeses being created and being made, but very locally around Scotland. So these cheeses have been made for a long, long time, but never really promoted, never really sold outside of their local area. And we are, I mean, this is such a lovely, lovely cheese, and it's beautiful. And it's, again, the balance of flavours in it is a supremely important one.
I'll look out for that next time I visit.
So that's the number one. There we go. And next time you're here.
Next
there we
time I'm
go. Something a little bit different. I love personalities around food, because actually if you find somebody with a real passion and a real personality around themselves and them as an individual, and they're a food creator, you can see where the two kind of join together. And this is a beautiful, if you can read it there, it's Young's Sweet Picca Lily. Now I'm going to hold that a little bit closer because you can't read the writing there on it. So this is my friend Leslie Young. Completely mad woman, mad as a box of frogs. Lovely, lovely friend. She lives in the same village that we do, just down the road in Bankfoot. I remember so Picca Lily, for those of you who don't know it, it's a chutney. It's made with a kind of mustard base, and it has traditionally has vegetables like cauliflower, onion, courgette, zucchini, things like that in it. And it's quite traditional, and vinegar. It's quite traditionally a very tangy, sharp, quite flavour. Leslie, with this, softens the chutney down. She adds quite a bit of sugar into it, and she just sweetens it and softens it, and it's a sweet Picca Lily. And the number of times we have people who are like, I'm not quite sure about that, and they try it in one of our sandwiches or on a cheese board, maybe with some ham, maybe with some strong cheddar, and they're like, where can I buy that? Where can I get hold of it? And Leslie, bless her, she chops everything by hand. Her right arm is like this. She's a wonderful enthusiast, and she doesn't let us have the Picca Lily unless it's matured to the right level. And she's a very dear friend, and it's a lovely, lovely product. So, you kind of get this anywhere apart from here and a couple of other shops around here. So, I'd love to export that around the world for her, but we're probably going to struggle to do that.
So that's two things.
That's two, and the third one. Okay, the UK and Scotland especially, in the last 4 or 5 years, has seen a huge explosion in gin. And there are lots of reasons for that, and the licensing law change and the kind of appellation contrôle about what is and isn't a gin changed. We have in the deli, we have a lovely range of Scottish gins, and my kind of acid tests for what I'll stock are, it's got to be Scottish, the gins, they've got to be Scottish, they have to be distilled on the premises where they're made. Now this is a range of gin called Percy. They make about 3 or 4 different ones. Good friends of ours called Simon and Chrissy. This one is called Herby and Aromatic Gin, and Simon described this to me. He said, have a smell of it, because they like to nose the gin. And I was like, it's kind of basil-y, rosemary, that kind of flavour, quite strange flavours for a gin, or quite strange nose. And then he said to me, try it with tomato juice. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding, really, a gin with tomato juice? And he said, no, try it with tomato juice. And I tried it with tomato juice. And do you know what, John? It's perfect. But then you think about it, you've got basil,
Yeah.
you've got rosemary,
Yeah.
and you've got tomato.
Yeah.
That triptych of flavours is going to work.
Yeah.
And so the reason why and this is only a small bottle because we sold all the big ones, but the reason I like it is because it's a lovely tasting gin and it's slightly different and it's slightly creative around the flavours and that flavour combination.
Yes, yes.
And that to me is really important about how things work together.
The way you've described all of those, that you clearly have a love of the local produce.
Absolutely. I'm going to put them close to me as well now.
Yes,
there we go.
just in case I take them as I walk out.
Get away.
It's interesting that you talk about how you'd love to sell this around the world, and actually I'm delighted to say that you're kind enough to allow us to come in here during a live Facebook shoot.
Oh yes, yeah.
Which is another COVID enhanced.
All masked up.
That was fascinating. And during that Facebook shoot, we had lots of people thumbs up as they came into the shop. A number of them were asking, can we buy this from abroad?
Yeah.
Is there a plan for shipping eventually?
Yes, but not yet.
Yeah.
I think that is one of our medium year or so time.
Okay.
It is very complicated
Yes.
of how you get, something like a cheese or let's say even a meat product, something like that, into the States.
Yeah.
We know how difficult that's going to be. Ignore the fact that the rules and regulations around moving food between countries will change, as we come out of the EU.
Yeah.
So, would I love to be sending this around the place? Absolutely. Will I be able to do it now? No. But the other thing I would say is, with people like Chrissy and Simon, if they get there ahead of me and they find ways of being able to ship their products around, then absolutely we can share that with the people watching this and make sure that we know them as well, and so where they can do it. But maybe you should just come over to Dunkeld and Burnham and sample it over here. That'd be a great way of doing it.
I was just about to say, certainly all of my followers and certainly previous, past and future clients.
Yeah.
I've often said, as I come from Edinburgh to Inverness, Dunkeld is the one place I stop.
Nice.
And if they've seen this, it will be a requirement for me to stop and bring them here. Well, Simon, thank you so much for inviting us into your wonderful the Scottish Deli and showing us some foodstuffs, and the three in particular, although I know there are hundreds that you'd like to have shown us. But all I can say to the world, and this will be going to the world on the Unique Scotland podcast through Exclusive Scottish Visits website. If you want to see Simon, if you're driving, make sure you stop into the deli here on the way north, or come to Exclusive Scottish Visits, and I'll make sure if we're heading north to south, we will be coming here for a visit. So Simon, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed. Cheers, John.
Cheers.
Good health.
Good health.
Cheers.